Hi students, this is Ranjini and we are dealing with fractions and decimals chapter of standard 7 till now we have finished all the exercise problems of fractions part and now we will move on to the decimals part. Okay, so let's go into the video. So today's topic is decimals. What do you mean by a decimal number? Okay, I'll give you an example. How do you read this? Do you read this as 2.42? No, we have to read it as 2.42. Okay? Such numbers are called decimal numbers. That is numbers with a point in between is called a decimal number. Okay? Now we'll see another example. 314.216. Okay? You read it as 314.216. Okay, this is another example of a decimal number. Okay, now we'll see the place values of each and every digit in this number. Okay, each digit has a place value, right? Just as our whole numbers, here also decimal number also, each place or each digit has a place value. Okay, let's see the place value. Okay, now if we take this number, there are two parts. One part to the left of the decimal and the other part to the right of the decimal. Okay, now we will take the part to the left of the decimal. Okay, if we take the part to the left of a decimal, it is just like our whole number. Okay, place value is just like our whole numbers. That is, this number is 314, right? So what is the place value of 4 here? 4 is in units place, right? This is units place, correct? And this 1 is in tens place, correct? And 3 is in hundreds place, correct? So this is just like your whole number. The part which is on the left side of this decimal or this point is just like your whole number. Okay. Now let us come to the part to the right side of this point. Okay. So what are the three digits? 2, 1 and 6. Okay. Now we will see the place value of these three digits. Okay. So let's take 2. What is the place value of 2 here? The place value of 2 is 2 tenths, THs. You have to put a THs there. Okay, not 2 tenths, it is 2 tenths. Okay, or 2 into 1 by 10. Okay, so you can write it as 2 tenths or 2 into 1 by 10. Okay, now similarly, if we take this 1, what is the place value of this 1 here? 1 hundredths. DREDTHS. 1 hundredths or 1 into 1 by 100. Okay. Now if we take this 6, what is the place value of 6 here? 6 thousands. THOUSANDTHS. Okay, 6 thousands or 6 into 1 by 1000. Clear all of you? This is how we have to express this in the form of place values. Okay, so if it is to the if the digit is towards the left of this point, it is just like our normal whole number. That is, there will be a units place, there will be a tens place, there will be a hundreds place, there will be a thousands place. It will just keep on going. Okay, but if it is towards the right of this point, we will have to write it as 2 tenths place, hundredths place, thousands place. Like that. Okay, so we have to divide it by 10. Okay, so what will happen? 2 into 1 by 10 will give you is equal to 2 by 10 is equal to 0.2, right? So that is what we have here, 0.2. Okay, clear? So this is how you have to do it. If you take 1 by 100, you will get it as 0.01. So that is what we have here, right? So the place value of this is 0.01, right? So we have to divide it by 10, 100, 1000, etc. if we go towards the right side of the point. Okay, clear with this? Okay. Now, I'll give you another example of place values. $61.729. Just take a number, okay? 61.729. So how can you write the place values in this number? If you take the digits to the left side, there are two digits, 6 and 1, right? So what is the place value of 1 here? 1 unit, correct? 1 unit. And the 6, the place value of 6 is 6 tenths. Okay? 6 tenths and 1 units. Okay? If we come to the right side of this point, 7 to 9, there are 3 digits. And what is the place value of this 9 here? Or let's take from here, what is the place value of this 7 here? Place value of 7 is 7 tenths, or 7 into 1 by 10. Okay, place value of this 2 is 2 hundredths, or 2 into 1 by 100. Okay, place value of this 9 is 9 thousandths, or 9 into 1 by 1000. So clear with the place value concept? Okay, now we will go on to the next concept, which is the comparison of two decimal numbers. Okay, so let's take an example. 1.7 and 2.5. Okay, there are two decimal numbers, 1.7 and 2.5, which we have to compare with each other. Okay, so first step what we have to do is, we have to check the digit to the left hand side of this decimal point. Okay, so here it is 1, here it is 2. Okay, so if the two digits are different, here it is 1 and here it is 2, we can directly compare the two numbers 1 and 2. Which is the greater one? 2 is the greater one, right? So 2.5 is greater than 1.7. Okay, now let's take another example, 2.2 and 2.6. Okay, so if we have two numbers like this, one is 2.2 and another one is 2.6. Okay, so if we compare the number to the left hand side, both the numbers have the same digit, right? Here also it is 2, here also it is 2. So how will we compare it? If it is different, we can directly compare it, right? Here it was 1 and here it was 2. So we directly compared and we concluded that 2.5 is greater than 1.7. But here, this is also 2, this is also 2. Okay, so left hand side is the same. So what should we do? What is the next step? We have to go to the right hand side. Okay, right hand side of this decimal point. Okay, so here it is 2, here it is 6. Okay, so which one is greater, 6 or 2? 6 is greater, right? So 2.2 is less than 2.6. That is 2.6 is greater than 2.2. Okay, first step is that we have to take the left hand side digit. If the left hand side digit is the same, we have to go on to the right hand side digit. Okay, so here it is 2, here it is 6. So 6 is greater than 2. So 2.6 is greater than 2.2. Okay, now let's take another example. 2.23 and 2.25. Okay, here what is the first step? You compare the left hand side digit, that is 2 and 2. Both are same, so we cannot conclude, right? Now go on to the right hand side. Okay, right hand side of this decimal point. Here it is 2. Here also it is 2. So again we cannot conclude. Now what should we do? Go to the next number to the right hand side. Okay. So next number is 3 here. Here it is 5. So which one is greater? 5 is greater than 3. So 2.25 is greater than 2.23. Clear with it? Okay. Now we will go on to the next topic in this decimals, that is multiplication and division of decimals. Okay. So first let us go on to the multiplication of decimals. Out of that, first subdivision is decimals with whole numbers. Okay, decimals with whole numbers. Okay, so let's take an example. 2.5 into 4. Okay, 2.5 into 4. So what should we do? For multiplying a decimal with a whole number, we should first step what we have to do is, we have to ignore this decimal point. Okay, first of all ignore this decimal point. So what will we get? 25 into 4. Okay, what is 25 into 4? 25 into 4 is 100. Correct? So write this 100 here. Now this is not the final answer, because we have a point here, we have a decimal point here which we ignored previously. Okay, so now is the time to include this decimal point also. Okay, so what should we do? We should count how many digits are there to the right hand side of this decimal point. Okay, so how many digits are there to the right hand side of this decimal point? 1. Correct? So in the answer also, leave 1 digit to the right hand side of the decimal point and put a decimal here. So the answer is 10. Quite easy, right? We just have to first ignore the decimal point, do the multiplication, and finally when we get the answer, include the decimal point. Clear with it? Now another example. 1.72 into 6. Okay. Now if we do with the same method, what is the first step? We have to ignore the decimal point. So 172 into 6. 6 2s are 12. 1, 7 6 are 42, 43, 4, 1, 0, 3, 2. Okay. Now write the answer here, 1032. Now what is the next step? Next step is we have to count how many digits are there to the right hand side of this decimal point. Okay. So how many digits are there? 1, 2. 2 digits are there. Okay. So in the answer also, keep 2 digits to the right hand side and put a decimal point, that is here. Okay. So the answer is 10.32. Clear with this? Okay. Now we will go on to the next part, that is multiplication of decimals with 10, 100, 1000, etc. Okay. So let's take an example first. 7.42 into 10. Okay. So what should we do now? 7.42 into 10. Okay. So first, how many zeros are there in 10? Only 1 zero, right? So what should we do is equal to, just take this decimal point to 1 digit to the right, that is, it was 7.32, now it is 74.2. Okay, so the decimal point will be shifted to the right by 1 digit. because we have 1 0 in 10. Okay. So the decimal point was in between 7 and 4 here. So it shifted to one place to the. So when we are multiplying a decimal digit by 10, we have to shift the decimal point by one digit to the right, one place to the right. Okay. Here it was the point was, the decimal was between the 7 and 4 here. Okay. So when we multiply it by 10, since there is only 1 0 in 10 here, so we have to shift this decimal by 1 place to the right. So the answer becomes 74.2. Okay. Now let's take another example. 65.7 into 100. Okay. Now we are multiplying a decimal number by 100. Okay. So 100 has 2 zeros, right? So what should we do? The decimal, this point should be shifted to the right by 2 places. Okay. So what will be the answer? 66.57. Now if we shift it to the right by 1 place, the answer will be 657, right? But we have to shift it by 2 places. Okay, so since there is no digit here, we have to put a 0 here. So the answer is 6570. Clear with this? Okay. Now let's take another example. 5.732 into 1000. Now how many digits should we shift? Now there are three zeros in 1000, right? So we have to shift this decimal point by 3 digits to the right. Okay. Always remember, while multiplying, this will be shifted to the right. Okay. So number of zeros we have here, that many points or that many places, this decimal will get shifted to the right. Okay. So since we have 3 zeros here, this decimal point will be shifted by 3 places to the right. So the answer will be 5732. Okay, clear? So this is how we have to multiply with 10, 100 and 1000. Okay. Now let's go on to the next part, which is decimal number by another decimal number. Okay. So multiplication of two decimal numbers. Okay. For example, take 1.2 into 2.5. Okay. Now what we have to do is, just like when we are multiplying with a whole number, what did we see? We have to ignore the decimal and we have to directly multiply and then put the decimal onto that, right? So similarly here also, if we have two decimal numbers, we have to first ignore the decimal points here. Okay. So what will we get? 12 into 25. Okay. 5 2s are 10, 6, 4, 2, 300. Correct? We got the answer 300 here. So write 300 here. Now what should we do? Finally, we have to see how many decimal points, how many digits are there to the right hand side of the decimal point. Okay. So how many digits are there? Here one decimal is there. Here also one decimal is there. Right. So here one digit. Here one digit. So 1, 2. 2 digits should be there in the answer to the right side of the decimal place. Okay. Because in the question we have 1 and here also 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So in the answer 2 digits should be there to the right hand side of the decimal. Okay. So how will we put? We'll put 2 digits. We leave 2 digits to the right hand side and put a decimal point here. Okay. So the answer is 3. 3.00. Clear? Now we'll take another example. .2 into 2.1. Okay. So here also we have two decimal numbers which have to be multiplied. So what should we do? we should first ignore the decimal digit and directly multiply the two numbers, that is 42 into 21. 2 2s are 4, 4 2s are 8. 882, okay, is equal to 882. Now where should we put the decimal digit? In the question we have two digits to the right hand side of the decimal point, right? Here 1 and 2 here. So in the answer we have to leave two digits to the right hand side of the decimal point. So it should be like this. So answer is 8.82. Clear with this? Okay. So we will do further examples when we are doing the exercise problems. Okay. We have many problems in the same way which we have to do in the same manner. Okay. So we will do the examples then. Now next we will move on to the division of the decimals. Next we are going to see the division of decimals. Okay. So in that, first one is decimal number by whole number. Okay. So now let's take an example. 6.42 divided by 2. Okay, 6.42, this is a decimal number and here we have a whole number 2. Okay, so how to do this? Okay, now what should we do is we have to convert this decimal number into fraction first. Okay, so how do you convert this decimal number into fraction? 6.42. Okay, so first we have to do is we have to ignore this decimal point and just write the number without the decimal point, which is 642. Correct? Now how can we convert this 642 into 6.42? If we divide this number by 100, we can convert this into 6.42. Okay? So we have to write it as 642 divided by 100. Divided by this 2, how can you write in terms of fraction? 2 by 1. Okay? Now, what should we do when we are dividing two fractions? What should we do? We have already seen that, right? So this will become 642 by 100. How to divide two fractions? We have to take the reciprocal of the second fraction and we have to multiply it, right? So what is the reciprocal of 2 by 1? It is 1 by 2, right? So 642 by 100 into 1 by 2. Okay? Now what can we do? We can cancel this 2 here because the 642 is divisible by 2, right? So if we cancel this and this, we will get it as 321. Okay? So the answer is 321 by 100. Now we can convert this into decimal again. Okay? Is equal to 3.21. Clear? This is how we have to divide a decimal number by a whole number. Okay? Now, division of a decimal number by 10, 100, 1000, etc. Let's take an example. 52.1 divided by 10. Okay. So what did we see in the multiplication part? If we are multiplying a decimal number, that is 52.1 into 10, what should we do? Is equal to, we have to see how many zeros are there in this 10. 1. And we have to shift this decimal place to the right hand side by 1 place. Okay, since we have 1 0 in 10, we have to shift this decimal place to the right hand side by 1 place. Okay, so what will we get? 5 521. This is what we get, right? While multiplication. Now while division, what happens is that multiplication we are shifting to the right, correct? Now while division, we have to shift the decimal point to the left hand side. Okay, so first we have to see how many zeros are here. 1 0 since it is a 10, and we have to shift this decimal place by 1 digit to the left hand side. Okay, so what is the answer? 5.21 is the answer. Okay, now multiplication means right hand side, division means left hand side. Okay, now another example. 62.779 divided by 10. What will you get? Since it is a 10, one place, and since this is division, one place to the left. So what answer will we get? 6.279. Okay. Now let's move on to 100. 72.4 divided by 100. Okay. Now the same method, since this is 100, 2 zeros are there, right? So we have to shift, since this is division, always keep in mind that if it is a division, shift to the left. Okay. So and since this is 100, 2 places. So what is the answer? You have to shift this decimal point 2 places to the left, which will give you the answer 0.724. Clear? Now we'll move on to the 1000. We'll take the same example. 72.4 divided by 1000. What will be the answer? Since it is 1000, 3 places. Since it is division, towards the left. And what will be the answer? We have to shift this decimal point 3 places towards the left. So what will we get? If we shift it 2 places, we will get it as 0.724, right? So 3 places means we don't have another digit here. So what should we do? We have to put a 0 here. 0.0724 is the answer. Clear? Okay. Now this is very easy. You can remember. Just you have to keep in mind a few points. Now the next one is division of 2 decimal numbers. Okay? 2 decimal numbers. Okay? Example. 4.24 divided by 2.2. Okay? 4.24 divided by 2.2. There are 2 decimal numbers, right? So first what we have to do, this can be written like this. 4.24 divided by 2.2, right? Now, first step what we have to do is, we have to write these two in terms of fractions. Okay? So what will we write it? 424. If we ignore this decimal point, we can write 424 divided by, how much should you write? This 424 should be divided by 100 to get this answer, right? Because there are 2 digits to the right hand side of this. So only if you divide 424 divided by 100, will you get 4.24. Okay, so 4.24 can be written as 424 divided by 100. Now, what can we write 2.2 as? First of all, ignore the decimal point. 22 divided by, what should we divide this 22 so that we get 2.2? 22 divided by 10. Correct? Now, as usual, so when we are dividing 2 fractions, we have to take the reciprocal of the second fraction and we have to multiply it with the first fraction, right? So, 424 divided by 100 multiplied by, what is the reciprocal of 22 by 10? 10 by 22. Correct? Now we can cancel this 10 and 10. 10 and 100, right? You will get 10 here. Now 424 divided by 22 into 10 is 220. Okay. So we will get the answer 0. Now the next part is division of two decimal numbers. Okay. So take for example 2.2 divided by 0.2. Okay. These are two decimal numbers. Now first step what we have to do is we have to convert these two numbers into fraction. Okay. So how will we do it? Just ignore the decimal point first. Write 22. So what should we divide this 22 so that you get 2.2? 22 divided by 10 is 2.2. Correct? So 22 by 10 divided by, ignore this decimal point again and write 2. So what should we divide this 2 so that you get 0.2? 2 by 10. Correct? Now what should we do? We got two fractions which we have to divide. What should we do? As usual, we have to take the second fraction, take the reciprocal of that and then multiply the reciprocal with the first fraction. Okay? So what will we get? 22 by 10 into, what is the reciprocal of 2 by 10? It is 10 by 2. Okay? So what is the answer for this? This 10 and 10 get cancelled. 2 and 22 get cancelled. The answer is 11. Clear with this? Okay. Now the remaining exercises we will do it in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.